Today, we're going to talk about Richard Allen. He knew what to do, he knew what to say, he knew how things should look, but he couldn't pull it off. Greg, tell us about the videos we're going to watch.
Yeah, we're going to watch the second interrogation of Richard Allen, who was finally convicted of killing 2 girls in the Delphi murder case. We've had a ton of requests for this one because it is such a good example of an interrogation.
And then, like I said, some of the tests are already back. I do want to talk to you about one of the tests that we got the results back. Oh, the other thing is, any of these knives or the gun, did you have that the day that you recall having that with you on the day of the 13th when you were out there on the bridge?
No.
You all remember if you did or you didn't?
I didn't. I just went out for a short walk that day.
Okay. Well, we'll get to the meat and potatoes of this, Rich. Well, I appreciate you being cooperative with me. I want to talk about the results of your handgun. Okay. So, handguns, as you know, probably, you may know more about them than I do. I don't know a lot, but they're very specific as far as the characteristics of the gun. So the firing pin is different from your firing pin. The extraction device is different from my extraction device. And they're basically what the lab has told me is that they're like fingerprints. They're specific to that gun and that gun only. Okay. So we took your gun, your 40 cal SIG, and we sent it down there to the lab to have it match with an item that we located on February the 14th when we found the girls.
Okay.
And that item was a 40 caliber Winchester round. We found that at the scene.
Okay.
The extraction marks on that round match your gun.
Perfect.
So
This is okay.
no, just hear me out. I'm just trying.
I am.
So this is the round. Okay. Those are the extraction marks. That's the best picture of them. There's actually 3 of them.
Oh.
That's the same round that we found. Okay. And like I said, the methodology that they use is scientific, and they're telling me, and this is the report. You can read it if you wish.
I don't need to read it.
All right, Greg, what do you got?
So let's start off by talking about interrogation. And I'm going to spend a lot more time on interrogation today than body language. But when we talk about interrogation, it simply means getting the most information, the most reliable information as rapidly as possible. Confession is a different thing. Confession is a process. You push a person in a box. Don't let them out until they give up. And read is a masterful tool at confession. And in the right hands, and a person who understands it, it is a good tool for getting enough information before you go down the path. But if you rush it, if you don't understand what you're doing and you don't take the art piece of it and pull together all these Scharfian concepts, it can go poorly very quickly. And right here, he starts off doing a pretty good job. When we use read in the intelligence world, we're using it for one reason. Chase, I know you did this. I push you to a point where you say, yes, I did it. And then I go, so what? I don't really care. I care about this. I want to know more information. When you're going after confession, it is the end-all be-all of your interrogation. So it's an important part of what the guy does. And if you're desperate to solve a case, it can cause you to cut corners and try to jump into it too quickly. And when you jump in too quickly, it simply becomes an argument. You guys remember us watching the Sarah Boone case. I didn't do it. Yes, you did. I didn't do it. Yes, you did. I didn't do it. Yes, you did. Went on for like an hour and a half. So we want to watch this guy and see if he goes that way or if he goes somewhere else. A couple of pieces of body language. His foot flexes when he talks about some test results are back. And I don't think that's a gravity-defying measure because of the way he's locked down. I think that's an indicator of interest. And it comes up again when he mentions evidence. So those 2 times, for me, would have me starting to pay attention to what he's doing because he's pretty locked down. Mark, his hands, and I'm going to pass it to you next because his hands are in what we would call truth plane, right? They're in the right spot, but he's in a chair. So it's tough for them not to go much lower. And his elbows are locked at his side. So it's an interesting mix. Right out of the gate, I start paying attention. People will say his hands are in his lap. If you see me sitting in a chair, I may have my hands in my lap because my arms are gorilla length. So look for baseline for a person, look for deviation, and let's pay attention to, is he going to do it right? He starts off with a process of bringing up some evidence, and that's the right start, but let's see how that goes. Mark, what do you got?
Yeah, listen, in later videos, we'll see him get really buoyant in the truth plane, open palm gestures at navel height, which really you're only usually able to do if you've been trained and you're countermeasuring the deception that you might be using, or you're honestly telling the truth. I mean, it'll often come up if you're honestly telling the
Let's
truth.
go. I hate to say it. Let's go over let's go over all that, Mark, to explain to everybody what the planes are.
Sure. So in my gesture plane system, you've got the grotesque plane, which is anything below your belt line, and that will have an effect on how other people perceive you and your content. You've got navel level, which is the truth plane. That will cause people to perceive you're being more honest. You may even feel more honest as well. You might even be being more honest, but obviously you can do this on purpose. Then you've got the passion plane, which is upper chest height. It'll raise energy levels. It'll be more exciting. It won't necessarily come across as accurate. You've got closure and disclosure around the mouth area. You've got thought around here, head, temples area, and then you've got ecstatic up here above the head. So we're going to see him doing symmetry in the truth plane a lot later on, a little bit here as well, which is often like a really good sign. And that's what's lovely about this video, is you've got some elements that are for and against him being honest and potentially deceptive here. And it's a really fine line. Just as you said at the start, Scott, it's like he does a really good job, really good job. I kind of go, how are you managing to do that? It's pretty good what's going on here. Now, at the same time, look, he's got this, and I'll see whether I can do it, but he's got this barrier. I'm not sure whether I'm using the right leg, but it's got this, but that hurts. So either he's more limber than I am, or he's actually locking himself down in quite a painful position. And he's doing it in quite a casual way. He's got this leg barrier. He's got one hand fig leafing as well. He's got a casual demeanor. So first off, it looks quite casual, looks quite honest. And then at the same time, you go, hang on, we've got one hand covering near his ankle joint. And that often signals to me he's protecting vulnerable joints. There's something more going on. So it starts well for him, body language wise. And at the same time, there's little tells in there that make me go, hang on, let's dig into this a little bit further. It may not be as casual and as calm as it seems. Scott, what do you got on this one?
All right. This guy has been, for a long time, I'm under the impression, because some things he thinks are important that aren't. He's watching his body language. That's why he's sort of locked down. We're going to see this get hilarious here in a little while, but he's locked down. Although all the things Mark just covered are there. When he's clasping his ankle, we see sometimes where he squeezes a little bit. I think that's how he's getting rid of that built up stress and tension, using that as an adapter. So there are a couple of things, parts where he should be moving where he's not. So when things should bother him and they don't, or he should feel comfortable and be able to scooch around, and he doesn't do that at all. So at this point, though, what's happening is he's frozen as well, because he's gathering information as this interrogator's talking to him. We've talked before about how the eye lock, when somebody's giving you information or they're asking you a question and you're not going to tell the truth, or you didn't tell the truth, how you don't blink. Everybody's under the impression the person who lies, like they blink a lot or they break eye contact while that happens. No, they want to keep an eye on you to make sure that you believe them. And in this situation, and you want to be able to gather as much information as you possibly can. And that's what this guy's doing. He's really still, and he doesn't realize he should have more smooth movements of his arms and hands. And when he's supposed to be relaxed and just sitting there listening, he just looks like he's frozen, taking in information. So there's a couple of things going on there that are correct, and a couple of things going on there that aren't correct because they're missing. So this is really common for situations like this, especially when you're the one in charge, giving the person information that they may not have, and they just shut up and listen. They get really, really still so they can take all that in. Chase, what do you got?
So Bank of America got hacked again, and instead of telling you, they sat on it for months. No press conference, not an email, just silence, while your personal data was out there drifting through these hacker forums like a cigarette in a motel pool. Here's the part that'll twist your stomach. On average, it takes companies about 277 days to even admit that they've been breached, and that's about 9 months. And this isn't rare at all. It's not just a one-off thing. Last year it was Chase Bank. Before that it was Citigroup. These aren't mom and pop banks. These are the biggest names in the financial game, and their walls are paper thin. And right now, your bank could have been breached and you're just kind of sleepwalking through everything. That's not fear-mongering. That is just reality. You've been sold the illusion of security, and behind the curtain is a room full of outdated firewalls and lawyers prepping these disclosure statements. That's why I am not waiting around. I use Aura. Aura scans the entire dark web like a bloodhound on a scent. So if my social security number, my email, my phone, if any of that shows up out there, I get an alert instantly. And this is while the banks are still in damage control mode. So Aura is already watching my back. And if somebody tries to impersonate me or open accounts or mess with any of my credit, Aura shuts it down even before it starts. They're not just sending you alerts and good vibes. They give you up to $5 million in identity theft insurance because they know what can happen when no one's watching the door. And the whole thing lives in one simple app. It's not complicated. There's not a lot of red tape. It's just power and safety. So go to aura.com/TBP and try it free for 14 days. And 2 weeks is enough time for Aura to even find out if your data is already out there. Odds are some of it might be. And I think the true kicker here is if something does happen, most companies will like toss you a bone. They're going to give you some free credit monitoring crap. That's their big plan, free credit monitoring after the robbery has already taken place. That's not protection. That's PR damage control, and it's about as useful as putting up flood insurance after your house is underwater. So you've been lucky thus far, and maybe that's all it is, just luck. And luck is not a security plan. It definitely isn't for me. So if protecting yourself feels a little overwhelming, good. That means you're finally seeing the truth. But Aura makes it super simple. It handles the surveillance, the alerts, the insurance. You don't have to lift a finger. So I personally am not leaving my identity or my family's in the hands of billion-dollar banks that treat breaches like it's a PR issue. So if you go to aura.com/TVP, you'll find out what's already out there before it finds you. Let's get back to the show.
Yeah, great. Listen closely to this one. Before he says a word, the mental battlefield is already kind of laid out. The detective's not rushing or being confrontational. He's kind of setting a trap here. And just notice how he says it kind of casually. Hey, you remember if you had a knife or a gun on you that day? It's soft and vague, like he's asking about a grocery list. So that's strategic. And hopefully there were questions before this. I haven't seen it, that we call a baseline question, where we're trying to get this guy to talk naturally without feeling cornered. When people feel relaxed, their natural body language and speech starts to show. So that's what baselining is. And that way, when Allen, that's his last name, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So when he gets hit with the evidence a little bit later, any changes or tension or hesitation are going to explode on the radar because we've got this little baseline. So that's maybe what's going on right here. But he takes the bait here. He says, I didn't. I just went for a short walk that day, which sounds pretty innocent. Short walk. That's a minimizing phrase. And in psychology, when people downplay the scope of their actions, like shortening time frames, which is what we did here, it can be because they know something bad happened during that window. So you're more likely to hear that during the window. And he's subconsciously trying to shrink the importance of that moment down into a little ball. But I want you to watch when the detective shifts gears. He moves from casual to clinical here. And he introduces all this ballistics evidence stuff. And he doesn't actually accuse him directly. He goes into teaching. And we call this the educator frame in interrogations. And he starts talking like, handguns are like fingerprints, and he's teaching him.
This is great because it sounds neutral, it sounds educational, but what it's really doing is cornering him psychologically. He's laying down an unavoidable fact, and that is the evidence will speak whether you decide to talk or not. And this is where it gets juicy. The detective is saying the extraction mark, and the extraction is like the little fingers in a gun that yank out an empty shell and kind of kick it out of the side of the gun. So he's not shouting, he's not doing slamming files on the table like a bad TV show. He's almost conversational, like he's already accepted the truth. And that's devastating because the casual tone in an interrogation like this is essentially saying, this is not a debate. This is just reality. And in this moment, whether he shows it or not, internally he's getting hit. There's fear, confusion, panic about how to kind of play this out. How do I respond to all this? And if you're watching closely, you're going to see a little tightening of the jaw, a little swallowing really hard, some sudden stillness, what we call freezing behavior. You're going to see a downward glance for pausing to kind of process things. So super interesting.
And then, like I said, some of the tests are already back.
Mhm.
I do want to talk to you about one of the tests
Mhm.
that we got the results back. Oh, the other thing is, any of these knives or the gun, did you have that the day that you recall having that with you on the day of the 13th when you were out there on the bridge?
Mm-mm.
You don't remember if you did or you didn't?
I didn't. I just went out for a short walk that day.
Okay. Okay. Well, we'll get to the meat and potatoes of this, Rich. Well, I appreciate you being cooperative with me. I want to talk about the results of your handgun. Okay.
Okay.
So, handguns, as you know, probably, you may know more about them than I do. I don't know a lot, but they're very specific as far as the characteristics of the gun. So the firing pin is different from your firing pin. The extraction device is different from my extraction device. And they're basically what the lab has told me is that they're like fingerprints. They're specific to that gun and that gun only.
Okay.
Okay. So we took your gun, your 40 cal SIG, and we sent it down there to the lab to have it match with an item that we located on February the 14th when we found the girls.
Okay.
And that item was a 40 caliber Winchester round. We found that at the scene.
Okay.
The extraction marks on that round match your gun.
Coffee.
So,
This is okay.
no, just hear me out. I'm just trying to.
I am.
So this is the round. Okay. Those are the extraction marks. That's the best picture of them. There's actually 3 of them.
Oh.
That's the same round that we found. Okay. And like I said, the methodology that they use is scientific, and they're telling me, and this is the report. You can read it if you wish.
I don't need to read it.
Yeah. Well, I'm just trying to help you. You know, let me tell you something.
Okay.
You know, the prosecutor and the other investigators, they want to see you lock you up, throw away the key. I
This
think
is ridiculous.
just listen to me for 2 minutes. Let me explain this to you. I'm on your side. I talked to you a little bit out there on the scene.
I know.
I know you mentioned a couple times you don't want to be the fall guy for this. You also mentioned to me the other day when I was telling you, hey, I want to check the property out, make sure there's no damage. And you said, doesn't matter, it's over. You know, you made comments like that to me that really concerned me.
Sure.
Right. It's concerning.
And what I mean by it's over is that you've already started something here that there's no backing out of. So you done the damage is done, I guess is what I'm saying. That's what I would have been referring to.
Okay, and I agree with that. We have started this. We've been working on this for a long time, and all the evidence is clearly indicating you're involved in this. And listen to me, Rick. I don't believe you should be the fall guy. But all the evidence, you say you're out there. We have witnesses out there. We have your vehicle. We have experts. We have experts that say that's you on the video and that's your voice on the video.
Okay.
Experts, not me. Here, I'm not an expert.
I got you.
Okay. And now we have your round at the scene. Not on the bridge. You said you're on the bridge.
I don't even know how my bullet would have gotten out there if that's my bullet.
It's without a doubt that this is very
Okay.
scientific. So let me show you a picture of this round where it was found. That's the round right there. It hadn't been out there very long. That is Liberty's foot. It's within 6 inches of one of the dead girls' bodies.
There's no way.
There is.
I'm telling you, there's not.
How did that round get there, Rick?
I don't know how the round got there. What I'm telling you is, if that is truly what you're saying it is, it's not my round.
Greg and I discussed the one
The only thing we
specific
discussed.
piece of body language because, well, we discussed before the show we did when we were talking about the clips. He said, "Did you see the ones?" I said, "I saw exactly what you're talking about." So we both knew what we were talking about, and I want to talk about it first so bad I can't stand it. But Greg, you go ahead.
We're all going to mention it. Everybody saw. This is how we know this guy's keenly aware of his body language. Everybody's seen this move before.
Mm.
That's exactly the most beautiful example. I've got a really good example of Hillary Clinton in front of Congress when she was being grilled about these servers, and she's trying to avoid them, and she turns her head away, and then she suddenly finds a reason to pick lint on her collar. It's never mind the move. It could be any one of millions of moves, but it's that immediate knowledge that I've made a mistake. It means that I'm paying attention to my body language. And if there's no other thing in this entire video than this one, all of us would jump on it. I'll let you guys each talk about it. But it's not an indicator of guilt, but it's certainly hyper awareness and would make us pay attention. There's also a piece in here, and I know a lot of people believe, and this is a variation in style, that never allow a person to deny anything early in the game. I'm a fan of you denying as long as I can take advantage of it. So when they first start talking, I'll let them talk, and then I'll deal with it. I'll go, for example, with a deadpan face and silence. I'll just look at the person while they're doing it. I'll go, "Okay, Richard, I can see what you want me to believe. So help me. Let's talk about it. Tell me exactly what happened that day." And then you can walk down from the time that he got to the place to the time he left, and you can do forward and backward pass, and you can start to paint a picture that's pretty damning and eliminate his ability to deny it again, instead of just shutting off denials. I'm a big fan of shutting it off is not extinction. Denying its ability to exist is extinction of that behavior. So using those tools is important. There's another, he does a denial face, really good denial face when he says, "We have witnesses." And he doesn't, however, do it when he says experts. So he doesn't doubt the experts, he does doubt the witnesses. That tells me down the path, I'm going to use the witness, if I've got one. Because this guy probably knows something that I don't know he knows, something we call guilty knowledge. And then he answers in denying the knowledge of the round and how it got there. He raises his hands out of lock and raises his voice, say, "I don't know how." There's no attempt at an excuse because he doesn't think that they have anything that will matter. Then he shows a ton of sarcasm and contempt. You see that left side of his face rise up in contempt in denying these accusations. So for me, what's interesting is all of that is good body language. And if he had not telegraphed the fact he's paying attention to it, I might believe him a little bit more. Scott, what do you got?
All right. Yeah, he's doing everything he's supposed to do to look like he's listening. He's got that head cocked to the side, like, yeah, I'm taking the stuff in, man. And then when he really wants to what would help him relax is when he does cross his arms, and Greg just covered it all. But then when he lets go and does that, man, that's such a perfect. I can't believe he got it and go, what are you doing, dude? I mean, that would be so hard not to call that out once you see it, or once you see that happen. But at the same time, I'm sure during this fake "I'm into it, man," you would have been able to see some wrinkles up in here, and his eyes were probably a little squinted. I'm surprised we didn't see him nodding his head up and down like, "Yeah, I get you, man. I hear it." But the interrogator does one of the classics. "I'm here to help." He wants to give him the impression that he's here to help him out, man. Because like I always say, when I do things like I'm like, "Hey, I'm just here to find out what happened. Not that you did this, or I'm here to find out why you did this." So you're already inferring that you know what happened. You've got facts laid out. And you're right about earlier when he was going through these facts and just laying them out like it's, or Chase, I think you were talking about that, has laying them out like you're just going through a list of things we already know. So yeah, I got this, you did this, this, and this. Okay, now let's talk about this part. Really good about that. We'll talk about the arrangement of how things usually go in an interrogation in a couple of videos, because this may not be the in the protocol of the read technique anyway, this isn't really following the protocol. I watched the whole interrogation. So, but we'll talk about that later. It's not that important right now. But we do see some light adapting of his thumb on his hand. So, but he really is keeping it under control. And I really think that his hand on his ankle, I think that's helping him a lot because he gets that arm stretched out and he can squeeze on it, and that can make him feel a bit more comfort. Mark, what do you got?
Yeah, look, I mean, this guy is more than good enough, I would say. Like he's not, but you know, you have to look pretty carefully. You have to have an angle on this to look for deception, and you have to find those things pretty carefully. That one is a great indicator, that adapter. He goes for barrier, then he adapts, then he goes back to his fig leaf. Yeah, I instantly went, oh, hang on, what's going on? What's going on here? That would have been fine. You could have stuck with that, mate. That would have been fine. You could have stuck with that. It's all right. No, but he has to go back to here and then tilt his head for a listening pose. So I'm now, oh, you want to tell me that you're really listening, or you are needing to listen? You don't want to close down on this? That's interesting. His truth plane here, Greg, is great. Like symmetrical gestures, open palm gestures. But the tone of voice is wrong for that. It pitches right up here with upward inflection here. That doesn't fit with the truth plane. If somebody's really, truly in that area, the voice will be deep. It will be factual as to what they're saying. It won't be pitched up here. He's protesting too much. But that's a hard one to find. And if you're looking for somebody truthful, you'll see this. If you're looking for somebody untruthful, you maybe will hear the pitched up voice and other areas, but you got to kind of hit this one with as little bias as possible, because he's doing enough of each to kind of head straight down the middle line here, where you have to go, I don't know. You're kind of counting clusters as you go along this one. But for me, truth plane is good. Pitch of the voice is completely wrong with this, and I put that with this and going back to the defense and the listening position. And video 2, I'm already going, hang on, there's something up here. Chase, what do you got on this one?
Yeah, first look at his body language. He's locked into that figure, what we call a figure 4, leg cross, ankle over the knee, which in normal life can look casual. But in a high stress interview, we need to take context into this. It's defensive. He's putting a barrier between himself and the detective here. And it gets deeper. He's tucking his hands between his legs. He's hiding them. And that's not just, oh, I'm nervous or something. That's protective behavior. And by crossing his legs like that and tucking his hands in, he is instinctively guarding his femoral artery. It's one of our most vulnerable, high-risk areas. And this is our ancient brain kicking in under stress, saying you need to shield all the vital stuff. And listen how the detective turns up the pressure, but he does it masterfully, I think. He doesn't accuse Alan directly. He plays good cop, trying to save him. I'm on your side. They want to lock you up, throw away the key, but I think that's ridiculous. I think he says something to that effect. This is psychological chess. And this little technique here is called minimization. It's offering Alan a safe way to talk about things without feeling like he's admitting to being a monster. So Alan's response is very telling to me. When the detective lays out the evidence, the witnesses, the car, his voice, the bullet, Alan doesn't push back very hard. He goes real soft. He says, I'm not on the bridge. I don't know how my bullet would have gotten there, if that's my bullet. And if you caught that, if that's my bullet, that's called distancing language. So instead of denying it, because if you know that you weren't there and you didn't have bullets with you, you would make a denial. You wouldn't distance yourself. And you would say, that's not my gun. That's not my bullet. I wasn't there. He starts softening the language. He's trying to create space between himself and the evidence here. And when he says, there's no way, he says it a couple of times, he sounds desperate but not definitive. Desperate but not definitive. He's arguing circumstances and not his innocence.
He's arguing the circumstances, which is very telling. Especially, you can argue circumstances, but when you hear that in innocent people, it's much later in the interview. This is firm denials in this territory. Once they get like, oh shit, I'm actually being accused of something, that's when the circumstances come out, not at this phase. That's all I got for this one.
Go read it. Yeah. Well, I'm just trying to help you. You know, let me tell you something. You know, the prosecutor and the other investigators, they want to see you lock you up, throw away the key. I don't think you're ridiculous. Just listen to me for 2 minutes. Let me explain this to you. I'm on your side. I talked to you a little bit out there on the scene. I know you mentioned a couple times you don't want to be the fall guy for this. You also mentioned to me the other day when I was telling you, hey, I want to check the property out, make sure there's no damage. And you said, doesn't matter, it's over. You know, you made comments like that to me that really concern me.
Sure.
Right. It's concerning.
And what I mean by it's over is that you've already started something here that there's no backing out of. So you've done, the damage is done, I guess is what I'm saying. That's what I would have been referring to.
Okay. And I agree with that. We have started this. We've been working on this for a long time, and all the evidence is clearly indicating you're involved in this. And listen to me, Rick. I don't believe you should be the fall guy. But all the evidence, you say you're out there. We have witnesses out there. We have your vehicle. We have experts. We have experts that say that's you on the video and that's your voice on the video.
Okay.
Experts, not me. Here, I'm not an expert.
I got you.
Okay. And now we have your round at the scene. Not on the bridge. You said you're on the bridge.
I don't even know how my bullet would have gotten out there if that's my bullet.
It's without a doubt that this is very scientific. So let me show you a picture of this round, where it was found. That's the round right there. It hadn't been out there very long. That is Liberty's foot. It's within 6 inches of one of the dead girl's bodies.
There's no way.
There is.
I'm telling you, there's not.
How did that round get there, Rick?
I don't know how the round got there. What I'm telling you is, if that is truly what you're saying it is, it's not my round.
And I don't think you realize the severity of this. You realize the death penalty is on the table for this?
You know what? I don't really care about living at this point. I've dealt with not wanting to live for 7, 8 years now. It's been a long fucking battle. And with what you guys have done to me, kill me. I don't give a fuck. You'll make my wife rich. So
is that what she wants? Is that what your daughter wants?
They don't want any of this to even be happening.
Well, it is.
Exactly.
I can't turn this
exactly
back. You were there. You're there.
Yeah.
Experts say that's you on the video.
Okay.
Experts are saying you said down the hill to the girls. The experts are saying all this. That all the evidence indicates you were out there. The witnesses saw you. The witness saw you. You said you didn't see anybody else on the bridge, but there was a girl that walked up, a lady that walked up and saw you on the platform, right?
Okay.
You didn't see her. And then right after that, these 2 girls that end up dead minutes later walk by her, and she looks back and sees them passing you. You're the last person to have contact with Abby and Libby. Your weapon, your gun out of your weapon is...
I've never contacted Abby and Libby. I've never even met them.
That day. Why?
I didn't.
That's all I want to know, is the truth. You're not one of...
I told you the truth. Do what you need to do.
Okay. Well, let me get I have the mark here for your DNA, and then let me step out and see. And they'll come in and swab you with it.
That's fine.
All right, Chase, what do you got?
All right, so first in this clip, when it comes on, watch his emotional tone. He goes into what looks like rage mode, but listen close. That's not real anger. It's overacted. It's dramatic. He says, "Kill me. I don't give an F." He even throws in that you'll make my wife wealthy or rich. Real anger and real innocent rage looks different. Innocent people, especially people falsely accused of something horrific, they don't care about making friends in that moment. He cares about the rapport that he has with this guy. Innocent people get loud and messy. They zero in on evidence like a laser. What witness? Show me the video. Show me the proof. They're not worried about maintaining some sliver of rapport with a detective. They're in full fight mode. Alan is still trying to maintain that relationship. He's still cooperating just enough to keep the situation manageable for himself. And that's a huge tell for me. It's a guy who knows deep down that he's trapped and he's trying to control how badly he's going down. Body language is still locked down. It's defensive. Legs are crossed. Hands are tucked. The body's tightened up. But watch the moment when the detective mentions DNA. There's an immediate shift. He reaches up. He starts adjusting clothing, which we call this a hygienic behavior or a pacification behavior. People do it when they're anxious and they need to kind of soothe themselves. And we just talked about, Greg, you just talked about Hillary Clinton doing this same thing, this small little adjustment. It's our body's way of saying, maybe if I fix something small, I can make this threat feel less overwhelming. Why now? DNA is inevitable. It's objective. It's not some witness memory. It's not a voice analysis opinion. It's hard science. And I think he knows this. And I think he's been getting ready to argue all of this other stuff and wasn't really prepared for this DNA thing to come up. Greg, what do you got?
Yeah, and the irony is I don't think there's any DNA at the scene. Of course, he would not know that. But so here's we talk about body language being about congruent movement. Mark, you just brought it up a couple of minutes ago. His voice and his hands are not doing the same thing. In the last clip, watch this. I'm angry. Guess what? When I'm angry, I move. I tell you I'm angry. My arms don't go, what? Just kill me. Just put me in prison. And my voice goes into that high squeaky mode. So we look for congruency. When he finally does come up and his fingers are separated and all that, he's doing the right thing. But his most emphatic speaking, his hands are down. That's not normal. That is not normal. So it's a red flag immediately. And you just kill me, you'll make my wife rich. Then he does some good movement when he comes out of it, but that good movement is associated with they don't like it. None of us do. When he says that, his brows come up to a sorrow tip in the point right in the middle. He raises his jaw. He moves his hands a lot. His fingers and thumbs are spread. Not when he's angry. So I'm back to you, Chase. I said this about Karen Reed. People typically try to endear themselves to you when they're guilty because they don't want to piss you off and have you go after their jugular. Now, here's the interesting piece. As the detective starts to list the same things over that he said, he starts nodding like, okay, I got that. I got it. And you can see contempt in his face at what the guy's saying. I think it's part of a quirky baseline. He's probably kind of a guy who gets into altercation pretty easily. And he's consistent, however, in his denial. He didn't meet Abby and Libby. He stopped short of saying they were not there. He said didn't meet them. Then, look, here's the problem. This guy's right on the edge of being able to use read. The problem with that is you got to be able to read when it's time to close. No pun intended. But you got to know when the person is ready for you to close. You got to look for those indicators. And we all know them. The person locks down real tight. He's almost there, protects his throat, and then he blossoms open. None of that is occurring. Not one piece of it yet. And you got one piece of data that you keep bringing up, this bullet, this bullet, this bullet. The DNA thing is a given. Everybody's going to use it. If you've really got stuff, you want to take it a step further and you want to pay real attention to when the guy's ready. Because if you swing too quickly, I'm not saying you can't come back, but you're going to be working a hell of a lot longer to make it happen. Scott, what do you got?
All right. At any time during this first 60 seconds of this clip, this guy could have for real gone, lost his mind and just said, wait a minute, I didn't do this. I don't know what we're not seeing these upheavals of anger or being upset that we usually see when someone's being accused of something they didn't do. And everybody's already leaned into it like, yeah, you did it, man. He's not doing that at all. It's just, he's trying to make it look that way, obviously, but that's fake and understandably why. But the anger isn't really there. He's not as loud as he should be. Nothing looks the way it should when he's being angry. It looks fake. We also see mercy hands. Now, a lot of the time people they'll be in this plane here. Which plane is this, Mark?
Truth plane.
Yeah, but what they'll do is they'll turn their hands all the way like this, and I call that mercy hands. This way, he's getting in and out of it. And mercy hands is when you say this, it looks like this. Your shoulders go up, and you give it one of these and go, "Hey, man, I don't know." It's like, please have mercy on me. I don't know, I didn't do this. Please have mercy. So that's what I'm seeing there as he climbs into that spot. And we can't say for sure that means that every time. It's just my personal experience. It's not from any. There are no scientific studies that show that means please believe me or anything. Mercy hands. So there. But at the very end of the clip, when he tells him he's going to swab him, they're going to come in and get him, that he puts his hand down on his pants and he does what's called preening, where preening is usually you're pulling something off your clothes, like Hillary was doing in that example Greg gave earlier. But in this case, he's fixing his pants leg like these. He doesn't concern. They're going to take a swab and see if there's anything, on his hands or anything. So, which he should be very worried about that, I would think, at this point. All right. Is it Mark?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Listen, Scott, just because there's no tests on that being mercy hands doesn't mean that it's not a good place to start thinking.
Yeah.
And that's all we ever do is go, whether there's scientific results or there are no scientific results, all we're ever doing is going, let's start thinking from this point and test as we go. What we're never doing is going, this always means that in every circumstance, because you'll find so many circumstances where it doesn't. Body language is a metaphor for nonverbal communication. It's not an actual language. A doesn't always mean whatever. Anyway, look, you know what? Some of what he's doing is more than good enough, but it gives itself away. I think Greg, he has a number of approaches that he's trying. And I'm talking about Alan here. Alan has a number of approaches that he's trying. And so first of all, he does ramped up emotion at the accusation. But you're right, it's like it's not quite right, it's not quite big enough, or it doesn't quite do the right thing. Then he changes. So first of all, his approach is, I'm just going to be ramped up emotional about this. Doesn't really get him the result. So now he tries the approach of, I've been depressed and kill me. But the kill me is a challenge. It's not a resignation. So we're not getting the resignation that should come with a sense of depression, or we're not getting the anger that should come with depression. Because one theory about depression is it's anger turned inwards. And often when I've interviewed or worked with depressed people, suddenly the anger can explode. It explodes out. It's like, whoa, okay, that's the real anger that's causing the harm here internally. We're not getting it right at any level. The approaches are good enough approaches, but they're not executed in a way that you'd go, that isn't acting. Like that feels really real. It never feels really real enough. And then for me, right at the end, we get this adapter where he just pulls his tracksuit pants over his ankle. No reason for that. Nobody's should be worried about. He's got socks all the way up. Like he can't be cold. He can't. Suddenly he's protecting his ankle. And this is a tell, talking about Hillary Clinton. Let's go for another star. Prince Harry. That's one that Harry will often do. His hand will go down to his desert boots and he'll mess around the ankle area. And he's pretty good at trying to protect the public seeing what he's thinking and feeling, or that stress, but going towards his ankles and just pulling down his trousers or touching the suede on his desert boots. That for me is a classic tell with him. So somewhat of an interesting performance, but not great enough, I would say. Let's have a look at another.
I will give you that, Mark, because you ended with that one. Chase has been winning just stop up to this point, but you got that one.
And I don't think you realize the severity of this. You realize the death penalty is on the table for this?
You know what? I don't really care about living at this point. I've dealt with not wanting to live for 7, 8 years now. It's been a long fucking battle. And with what you guys have done to me, kill me. I don't give a fuck. You'll make my wife rich. So
Is that what she wants? Is that what your daughter wants?
they don't want any of this to even be happening.
Well, it is.
Exactly.
I can't turn this back.
Exactly.
You were there. You're there.
Yep.
Experts say that's you on the video.
Okay.
Experts are saying you said down the hill to the girls. The experts are saying all this. That all the evidence indicates you were out there. The witnesses saw you. The witness saw you. You said you didn't see anybody else on the bridge, but there was a girl that walked up, a lady that walked up and saw you on the platform, right?
Okay.
You didn't see her. And then right after that, these two girls that end up dead minutes later walk by her and she looks back and sees them passing you. You're the last person to have contact with Abby and Libby. Your weapon, your gun out of your weapon is.
I've never contacted Abby and Libby. I've never even met them.
That day. Why?
I didn't.
That's all I want to know is the truth. You're not one of.
I told you the truth. Do what you need to do.
Okay. Well, let me get the. I have the mark here for your DNA, and then let me step out and see. And they'll come in and swab you with it.
That's fine.
No, please talk to me.
I just
Clear this up in my head.
I just don't know how I'm supposed to act like this never happened.
You can't. You can't.
I'm not saying the murder. I'm saying
That's exactly what you're saying. Your conscience is trying to tell you this is the day. This is the time. This is time to get out in front of this, Rick. You made a mistake. You got in the middle of this. You got in the middle of this. You cannot explain all the evidence away. And you're saying, "Oh, that's not good." I'm just telling you what we have. Some of what we have.
Okay.
And we're still working on other things.
Okay.
Please.
I'm not going to tell you I did something I didn't do.
I don't want you to say.
End of story.
And I appreciate that. What did you do? What is your involvement? Who else? I have 100 different questions, but if you're not willing to tell the truth, it's a waste of your time and mine. And you're going down for something that you have maybe some involvement in. Maybe this is all you. That's what it's.
Where's this guy that's saying that I helped him?
You tell me. I'm not saying that. Did I say today that
You're saying that I was involved. Well, if I didn't do it, but I'm involved, what do you say? If you got somebody saying I helped them do it, they're crazy.
Okay. I never said that. Did I? I just said you're involved. What is your involvement? Is that a theory that some people may have that
I don't know.
I just want you to tell me all the truth. I just want you to be just completely honest with me.
If you're going to arrest me, arrest me. I'm not talking anymore. This is ridiculous.
I just thought maybe you would appreciate my effort to help you. I mean, apparently you don't, because after today, I can't help you.
I understand that.
You do understand now.
I don't need your help.
You need help. You don't think any of this is important?
I think that nothing that you have is going to show me anywhere near the murder of two little girls. That's what I'm telling you.
I'm telling you we do have that.
You don't. It's not possible.
It is possible.
Whatever.
All right, Greg, what do you got?
I'm going to be a little long on this one, I warn you, because this is a good interrogation opportunity. The guy's openly defiant, and even eye rolls right out of the gate. So that looks good and nowhere near a confession if he actually did it. Now, this is a time when a guy gets to that point where he's defiant and openly defiant, that you've got to sidestep that. You can't go headlong and turn this into a pissing contest. If you did it, I did. No, you didn't. No, you didn't. Like we saw in the Sarah Boone thing. So when he says, I hear you, Rick, talk to me, that is the absolute right start, but it falls apart right after there. What he should say is something like, help me to understand where you're coming from. You're right, we've done damage to you. Let me help you clear this up. Let's talk about that day and exclude you. Now you become his partner and his friend. When he gets to a data point that's wrong, you could then even choose to say, I know that's a lie. Or you could say, boom, keep track of all of them and then bring it out and break it up. Done that many, many, many times where a person tells you something you know not to be a fact, and you come back and say, well, there's a lie. And there's a lie, and there's a lie. In fact, when I'm talking to somebody in an argument, often I'll just nod and listen until they give me all the tenets of their argument, and then I'll tear them up one at a time and throw it away. People tell me that's not fair. It's not fair arguing. I'm like, well, I'm here to win the argument, not to argue. There's a big difference in the two.
It's not sports.
It's not sports. It's I bring tools to the game that you may not. And so if it's a sport, then you don't know the rules of the game. We're back to one of our most recent one. Again, we see Rick's feet rise on evidence, which tells you he wants to know exactly what's going on. There's your opportunity to paint the picture. So what I'm doing is there's a concept. Remember, Mark, it's funny you use the term approaches. Approaches are psychological ploys in interrogation. And one of those we use best is something called establish ID. We show you a grainy picture and say, this looks a hell of a lot like you. You see my confusion? And that's his opportunity because he's got a fuzzy picture that looks a hell of a lot like Rick. And I would walk it down and say, do you see my confusion? Help me to unravel this. Where were you and who can vouch for you? Okay, so you were near. Why'd you change the height on your ID, which is a known fact this occurred? Now you know why we suspect you. And added to that, this bullet from your gun. Rick, did you use your gun? I would have said, did you use your gun? He would know the girls were not killed with a gun. They were killed with a knife. And he would have said something that would divulge guilty knowledge. There you got him down a path. And then the next thing I would have said is, if I brought your wife in here and talked to her, would she say you were at the park? Would she validate or undermine your story? And all of those things, we're trying to push him down and get past his defense. Sharp is about getting past the armor, opening a hole, and infecting that person with something that you put them to work with, and then making them go after it. But that's not what he does. And I think he misses an opportunity here because he starts going to sarcasm and starts to hammer. And he's using pieces of Reed. And those of you who love Reed will probably say, that's not Reed. It isn't. It's parts of Reed, not put together. Mark, you said this before. The process works, but the process works when you are going down the path and using it as a funnel to drive the guy into a protected spot where then he has to protect self in some way. He keeps using the same piece of data. That's not going to help. And you can't say we've got all this data, but here's the one I'm going to tell you about, because that is a really poor version of we know all. And this is turning back into an argument. Mark, the reason I love the fact you used approach is Rick is working this guy as hard as this guy's working him. He is fishing to see what that cop knows. If you don't believe it, watch him when he's talking about bullet, evidence. This is a we know all failure. He went too early. And this is, look, if we were going to try to retrieve this, right now is the time to get up, take a break. We'll do what we call a termination, spill your coffee all over yourself, do something to give you a chance to get up and get away. Chase, what do you got?
Yeah, that's great. And now is when they could add in, like, I don't know how long has it been, but they could add in, like, we're still gathering evidence. There's game wardens out there. The Fish and Wildlife have cameras all over the place, and we're working on getting that right now. And they're coming in here in just a few minutes, just to build up the anxiety. But first off, look at his physical space. He's kind of shrink wrapped into himself here, and his elbows are kind of pinned to his body. They don't even leave the chair. His feet are planted on the floor like he's trying to just kind of brace himself. And I don't think this is casual at all. This is textbook fear behavior. When people feel exposed, especially in high stakes situations, their bodies instinctively move to protect arteries, like we've talked about. The humerus bones, these bones right here, stay tight to the rib cage. They guard the heart and they guard the brachial arteries, getting shielded, and his femoral arteries are also protected here. And you can't consciously fake these little reactions. It leaks out when the brain flips into survival mode. But when Alan does lift his hands to deny something, it's hilarious. The gestures are so small and contained. They're kind of half-hearted. It's like a T-Rex making all these gestures here, like his arms are afraid to make a scene. His arms are afraid to make a scene. This is very common in guilt. Righteous anger is big and expansive. Greg demonstrated it earlier. We're moving around a lot. When people are genuinely outraged, they don't tuck their elbows like they're scared of getting slapped. This is performative anger. It's anger for show. It's not real. And listen to his words too. He's tangled. He's trying to split hairs. He's arguing whether he did it versus whether he was involved. Listen to that. Innocent people don't do that. He says, if you got somebody saying I helped them out, they're effing crazy. But notice he's reacting to accusations the detective never really made. This is called anticipated guilt in most interrogation trainings. His brain is jumping ahead to defenses he thinks he's going to need in the future before he's been directly accused. So when the detective is saying you're going to go down for something you have some involvement in, Alan still doesn't make a clean denial. He looks down tighter. He lifts his hands like little ping pong paddles, and he tosses out some more of these little protests. So in the interrogation world, this is where we would have wanted to be very procedural and go into we know all, like Greg said, instead of we know one. We know one thing. And that's very easy to do. There's a few techniques that we have for doing that, even when the evidence isn't there. Scott has a cool name for this. Maybe thwack factor. I can't remember what you call it. Scott, what do you got?
Was it the wacky water weasel? Something.
No,
like that.
when you thump the binder down.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. The thwack test. The body language we're seeing here looks odd because it is odd, because nobody sits like that unless you're an astronaut or a ventriloquist dummy. Another thing makes this look odd is the illustrating. It's just his head. Same thing a ventriloquist dummy does. That's the only thing that moves. His head goes up and down and moves back and forth. That's what we're seeing here. So it's any other illustrating he does in that area, in that little section there, is just minimal. Until he gets to that side chop with how. How is that gonna what does he say? How something, because I've just got how underlined here. And then both arms come up into the what plane, Mark? Passion plane.
Passion.
Yeah. So, and it looks a little bit like Mercy hands up that high, but I'm not so sure that you're going to try to get Mercy from what? Help me here. I don't think that's going to happen. And then the interrogator turns into this smooth, calming thing. His voice turns. He's really confident with what's going on here. He thinks he's got him boxed in. So it has this little bounce to it, and it's really like, everything's good, everything's okay. And then Richard tries to end the interview by saying, hey, I'm not talking anymore. This is ridiculous. And then this interrogator goes right into the classic. Hey man, I'm just trying to help you. I thought you would appreciate me trying to help you. That's one of your go-tos, and that helps him start talking again. And it helps because he starts talking again. So he executes that. I give him that. He does that very well. It's a powerful tactic when you do it the right way. But you have to play it right for each person. You have to take into consideration who you're dealing with and what you're doing there. So I think you did on that part. I think you did a pretty good job. So all right, is that everybody?
No, I'm still to go.
Okay, Mark, go ahead.
Yeah, look, both of them are doing an interesting enough job. As I say, I did this on the plane yesterday, which meant my brain was under the wrong pressure and not enough oxygen. And so I had to make sure I was going back on each video going, hang on, because you've all watched films on planes and you're like, that was a brilliant film. That was fantastic. Then you tell your friends and family about it and they watch it and they go, that was rubbish. Like, oh, right. I was locked in a cell basically with not enough oxygen, with the whole of my body under completely the wrong pressure. Of course, everything was okay and fantastic. And there's a lot about this when you're on an aircraft for several hours that you kind of go, yeah, okay, this is all right. But look, let's look at exactly what he says here. And you've more than hinted at this, Chase. I'm telling you that nothing that you have will show me anywhere near the murder of two little girls. I'm telling you that nothing that you have will show me anywhere near you can't quite say murder. Let's take the first part of that. That's not a denial. That's an argument. That's just an argument. That's not, I didn't do it. I'm telling you, I did not do this. I'm telling you, you don't have the evidence to I'm going to say it, murder. Yeah. And there's that loss of fluency there. Okay. And then two little girls. Okay. That is, he knows the name of these girls. It's not those two little girls or the names of them. So there's a little bit of distancing. But for me, just the argumentative nature of that right up front, what could easily come across, certainly on my aircraft at that pressure, at that oxygen level, first time round, I'm sure my brain went, yeah, decent enough, refusal of being involved. And then you look at it again and you go, no, that's just an argument. That's all that is just an argument. And I think all of this, first glance, can actually look really quite good enough. and you take a second look at it, and there's enough little pieces that you go, hang on, there's something more than up about that. And that's where it comes down to that great thing of finding clusters, finding delicate details and finding clusters. And that's what tells you that there's something up.
No, please talk to me.
I just
Clear this up in my head.
I just don't know how I'm supposed to act like this never happened.
You can't. You can't.
I'm not saying the murder. I'm saying
That's exactly what you're saying. Your conscience is trying to tell you this is the day. This is the time. This is time to get out in front of this, Rick. You made a mistake. You got in the middle of this. You got in the middle of this. You cannot explain all the evidence away. And you're saying, "Oh, that's not good." I'm just telling you what we have. Some of what we have.
Okay.
And we're still working on other things.
Okay.
But
I'm not going to tell you I did something I didn't do.
I don't want you to say.
End of story.
And I appreciate that. What did you do? What is your involvement? Who else? I have 100 different questions, but if you're not willing to tell the truth, it's a waste of your time and mine. And you're going down for something that you have maybe some involvement in. Maybe this is all you.
Where's this guy that's saying that I helped him?
You tell me. I'm not saying that. Did I say today that
You're saying that I was involved. Well, if I didn't do it, but I'm involved, what do you say? If you got somebody saying I helped them do it, they're crazy.
Okay. I never said that. Did I? I just said you're involved. What is your involvement? Is that a theory that some people may have that
I don't know?
I just want you to tell me all the truth. I just want you to be just completely honest with me.
If you're going to arrest me, arrest me. I'm not talking anymore. This is ridiculous.
I just thought maybe you would appreciate my effort to help you. I mean, apparently you don't, because after today, I can't help you.
I understand that.
You do understand now.
I don't need your help.
You need help. You don't think any of this is important?
I think that nothing that you have is going to show me anywhere near the murder of 2 little girls. That's what I'm telling you.
I'm telling you we do have that.
You don't. It's not possible.
It is possible.
Whatever.
She thinks you're a good person. I think you're a good person. I just think something went wrong. I don't know why or what happened, but only one person can tell me, and that's you.
I can't tell you something that I don't know. I don't know how to make that any clearer.
You don't want to remember?
Oh my God, I didn't do anything. I didn't murder 2 little girls. I didn't help somebody murder 2 little girls. I wasn't involved in, what'd you say, scheming or whatever. I wasn't involved with these 2 girls in any way, shape, or form. Never even seen them before.
Well, we'll let her talk to you a little bit.
Okay.
You guys can try to sort this out and let me know whatever I can do to help. If you need more water or anything.
Okay.
You need another smoke break. I just feel like you're... I don't know. I don't know what to think.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I said, you don't know what to think.
No. It's tough.
It's not tough. It's bullshit.
I don't think it is.
Okay.
you had a valid explanation of all this, but you don't.
That's what I can't explain something I don't know.
Mark, what do you got?
Okay, like linguistically, this looks like a decent denial. You know, if you just take the text, let me read the text because it seems pretty decent, especially if you're on a plane and you haven't got the right oxygen. Oh my God, I didn't do anything. I didn't murder 2 girls. I didn't help somebody murder 2 girls. I wasn't involved in, there's something redacted there, scheming or whatever. Wasn't involved with these girls in any way, shape, or form, never seen them before. I mean, there's a lot of that that's pretty adamant. But then, so if we just gave you that text and went, here's what he said, you'd probably be right to go, I mean, actually, you can pick at it, and I won't go into picking at it. But you can untangle it as a statement and go, yeah, there's a lot of problems with it. But first glance, not enough oxygen in your brain. You know, thinking about other stuff, you'd probably go, yeah, decent enough denial. But then when you watch the video, he's not resigned. He's not angry when he's saying that. He's not resigned when he's saying that. It seems he's too relaxed. It seems rote and indifferent. And so it just doesn't have the right tonality. I would want complete resignation, like complete resignation on that, or absolute anger, like big body language, big aggression on it. Then it would make more sense to me. It's too relaxed, it's too rote, it's too indifferent. Greg, what do you got on this one?
Yeah, Mark, I'm with you 100%. When you look at just the words, what has happened here, and the reason Reed works so well is you wait to go in for the kill until you've got them pushed down in this funnel where they're feeling guilt or shame or all those things. And you have to paint that picture very effectively so that you get them there. You can't allow them to raise their head every now and then. And if they do, you got to allow them time to push them back down in the hole. If you go too quickly, it falls apart because they're standing on the edge of the crater and they're like, oh yeah, screw that. And they turn and let you go in the crater. And we're seeing a little bit of that. What happens is he's talked himself back out. And so now he's got the right words. And I agree with you. You're either demonstrative or you're defeated when you're talking about, I'm going to jail for something that I didn't do. You're not, yeah, you know, okay, maybe I'm going to jail, but I didn't do this. That's not how, we saw that again with somebody a couple of weeks ago. So this entire thing, he almost gets to the right spot. If this police officer were paying attention, he gets a save that he could have used brilliantly and beautifully. And that is that telephone, his phone dinging, whatever his phone sent, whatever it is. It could be, hey, we want to come in and talk to him. Hey, we got his wife, whatever it is. But really good interrogation is taking that as an opportunity and never let anything go unused. What I would do is I would say, oh yeah, look, let's forget about the bullet and let's just chalk that up to coincidence. Maybe it is. Look, I'm no scientist, neither are you. Stop arguing the point that you're arguing back and forth that got him back out of the crater. And I would say, look, we're about to bring your wife in, but my partner's talking to her for a few minutes out in the hall. And she didn't, let's say she said she didn't know where you were that day. That's all you got to say. Look, she said she didn't know where you were that day. Is there any reason she might have a different story than you? And we always talk about putting a virus in their brain or a bait question. And what you're doing is you're putting their brain to work for you. And then you give them some time, is what I typically do. I'd say, any reason she may have a different story than you do, I'd walk out and I'd leave him to work on that issue. That's his issue now, not mine. He's going to be going, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, what's she going to say? And even if they had negotiated something before this happened, even if they were co-conspirators, they never get it right. It never works right. Because I can think of a question they've never thought of. And then it starts to come apart. Now, what you got to be careful of, and here's why so many people say Reed is dangerous. If instead of poking him and giving him this idea, you give him guilty knowledge, now you've implanted a memory. Now you've started to make a mess, and now you can make a mess of the confession and get a false confession because the stress that's built up while you're out of the room is going to compound this. He needs that time to sit and dwell on things. You rarely see a person confess after a dodge back and forth like this. It's usually after a few seconds of silence, a few minutes of silence, while they're sitting and boiling that stuff around their head. So I think this was a missed opportunity. I think he swung a little too hard. and went back at one piece of data way too much. And I think he might even have gotten out past his opportunity to close this interrogation that somebody else would have had the opportunity if you had the luxury of sending him in. So if all of us were there and I did it, I would come out and say, hey, Chase, I'm too far down the path. Hey, Scott, I'm too far down the path. Hey, Mark, I'm too far down the path. I need you to go in and cover this. Might not even be an interrogator. Might be somebody who comes in and is the data person who says, look, I just need to clarify some things. They give you a breather, then you leave them alone for a while, then you go back in and start over. Terminations work. We use them all the time, and it provides a break in that escalation of tension that you're seeing, Mark, the reason he can't be normal. Scott, what do you got?
All right, we hear another classic from the Reed technique, vault. You know, he says, I think you're a good person. I just think something went wrong in there somewhere. So that's what you say. You want them to think that you're on their side. You know, you're not a bad guy, man. You just made a mistake. Something happened in there. That's what we're here to talk about. Let's find out what happened and why. So he goes down that road, which, like I was saying earlier, I think he's a little bit late in in the protocol to be doing that. So it's a little bit out of place. This guy's probably a great guy, probably a great interrogator, but he's taken the Reed technique once and he remembers a few things about it. And he's just peppering his interrogation with the tools you're supposed to be using in a protocol. And he's not doing that. So maybe that's why it took so long to get to where he is. So, but anyway, so Richard's now getting a little bit more animated, not a whole lot more, but a little bit more. Because he's trying to hold that excitement down or that frustration or that anger down as this goes forward. Now, most people are under the impression that if you know about body language and you know what it is and you know all these little keys, like all of us are, you know, we know a lot about body language and human behavior. But if any of us were taken into an interrogation, we could probably hide that for the first 30 minutes. And there'll be at times we'll try to hide it, but it'll end up looking like we all saw in that other video where he does his arms and undoes them. There'll be very small versions of that, tiny little versions of that we'll see, and things that should show up when they don't. That's one of the first questions I'm asked at the end of interrogation training. You know, okay, what do you got, man? So what happens if somebody interrogates you or interrogates another interrogator? How do you they know what you know, then what happens? And I give them the same answer every time. They can't keep it up. You can for a little while. It'll look great for a little while. But after a while, that stuff fades. And you know that person's an interrogator, so you know you just keep going. It's going to slip up after a while. And even though the interrogator you're interrogating knows that, it's still going to happen because you can't keep it up. It's impossible. Impossible. Mark, what do you got?
I'm done. It's Chase.
Oh, is that all of us? Oh, it's Chase.
Is it Chase?
Okay.
Yeah, this is 6, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I think as far as an interrogation goes, this guy has all the ingredients, but not the recipe. I think that's what's really missing. This guy's locked into a figure 4 defensive posture. His foot's jittering. Hands and elbows are glued to the body. He's guarding his arteries, protecting himself. It's primitive survival mode. But let's zoom into what he's saying here. When the detective says, maybe something went wrong, only you can tell me, his denials start tripping all over themselves. So listen to the sequence that he goes through. He goes through, I didn't do anything. I didn't murder 2 little girls. I didn't help somebody murder 2 little girls. I wasn't involved in scheming. That's not one clean, confident denial there. That's 5 different layers of scenarios. That's 5 scenarios, not 5 denials. That's scenarios. Each one a little softer, a little bit more desperate. Here's the behavioral key when you're hearing all this. Innocent people reduce ambiguity. When you accuse an innocent person, they don't waffle between murder and helping and seeing and scheming and all this. They shut it down. It's hard and it's simple and it's very confident most of the time. He's injecting ambiguity like a bad insurance claim here. It's like, maybe I didn't kill him. Maybe I didn't help somebody. All of this stuff. So when you see somebody spinning out multiple versions of innocence, not one clear story, you're watching someone subconsciously negotiate guilt. So innocent people eliminate ambiguity. Guilty people live inside of it. It's their little sleeping bag that they use during the interrogation is ambiguity. And as a fun fact here, Studies on high stakes interviews show that innocent people overwhelmingly simplify their statements. They get shorter over time, they get clearer, they get more absolute. Guilty people, in contrast, will multiply possibilities because the brain's trying to leave itself a little mental fire escape if the story falls apart. That's all I got.
She thinks you're a good person. I think you're a good person. I just think something went wrong. I don't know why or what happened, but only one person can tell me, and that's you.
I can't tell you something that I don't know. And I don't know how to make that any clearer.
You don't want to remember?
Oh my God, I didn't do anything. I didn't murder 2 little girls. I didn't help somebody murder 2 little girls. I wasn't involved in, what'd you say, scheming or whatever. I wasn't involved with these 2 girls in any way, shape, or form. Never even seen them before.
Well, we'll let her talk to you a little bit.
Okay.
You guys can try to sort this out. Let me know whatever I can do to help. If you need more water or anything.
Okay.
Need another smoke break. I just feel like you're... I don't know. I don't know what to think.
You.
Hmm.
I said, you don't know what to think.
I don't know. It's tough.
It's not tough. It's bullshit.
I don't think it is.
Okay.
You had a valid explanation of all this, but you don't.
That's what I can't explain something I don't know.
Right?
John, how did the bullet from your gun get out there?
I don't know.
Because they said it came from our gun.
I know that's what they believe you. That's what they're telling me.
But how did it get there?
I don't know.
They said there was one in your box above your dresser that matched it.
They showed me that picture too. I can't explain it. And I don't.
I can't either. They keep asking me, and I don't know how to answer that.
Yeah, that's right. I understand. Me either. And that's what I'm trying to tell them. You want to keep asking me, and I just keep telling you I can't explain it. I don't know how to explain something that isn't possible. But I know, this is what I do know. I know that no bullet from my gun was connected with a murder in any way, shape, or form. And there's no way a bullet from my gun would have been near Abby and Libby's murder or anything else, because I never even seen those girls. Period. And I didn't even have my gun that day. So that's what I'm trying to say. I don't know how to make that any clearer. I don't know how to make that any clearer. I don't know how to make somebody understand. I get what he's saying. I don't have a way to explain it.
All right, Greg, what do you got?
Let's talk about how this would affect an interrogation. Regardless of whether she said something to counter, this is his most familiar relationship. We get a good baseline because this person has neural pathways established through thousands of passes. That's going to mean his body language and his movement moves normally, even in a stressful situation, because they are so fluid. There is so much practical application that you can't miss it. So pay attention to him. He's more agitated than he was with the cop. That shows you that this is working. There's an interesting shift in baseline as he tries to explain away the bullet. He lied to his wife. You see that baseline change. He's still pretty adamant, but his baseline changes from what he was saying to the cop. Something is up right here. No bullet from my gun was connected with the murder, not with the scene, with the murder, because he has guilty knowledge. He knows that they were not killed with a bullet. And then I would just, look, I would go back and I give him some options. Okay, let's define connected, Rick, because it's push-pull word. Anytime a push-pull word is used, that's an open-ended invitation to conversation. You can't deny it when you say, what do you mean by that? Well, I don't mean anything by it. Well, hold on. If you watch the extended version of this entire interrogation, there's a lot of back and forth, but she gets under his skin in this body language piece. You'll be able to see it. Go watch the entire video. I think we see his baseline approach here, and I think the rest is locked down, masked, and pretended, exactly like we've all been saying since the very beginning. Chase, what do you got?
Yeah, very, very great points, man. If you pay attention to this when the clip comes back on, you're going to see the energy flip really quick. He's a little more confident now, and it's not because he's beaten all the evidence, because he's running an old playbook. He's used to talking his way out of things with her. I guarantee you. Whether it was like some Craigslist email that he was trying to explain or something else, something happened. This isn't a cop grilling him. It's somebody he's used to convincing and soothing and managing before. While you're looking at this, look at her body language. She's about 2 feet away from him, and 2 feet might as well be a canyon right now. There's no hand holding, no leaning in. Her arms are folded tight against her stomach, and this is classic uterus, or what we call genital protection. This is primal self-defense. Where'd she put her purse? Towards him or towards the door? Further away from him. When your brain senses deep emotional or physical threat, it's unconsciously shielding the most vulnerable parts of your body. And the womb, the literal core of humanity's survival, is one of the first places that you'll see women protect. She's not using his name either. There's no Rick. There's no honey. That's more distancing behavior. And on some level, she's already starting to detach herself from him. She's walling off what she is terrified is true. And what's Alan doing? He's slipping into over-explanation mode. He's rambling through denials like he's trying to outrun a bunch of facts. I don't know how the bullet got there. I didn't have my gun that day. I never even saw those girls, period, I think he says. He keeps saying variations of the same things. I don't know how to explain something that isn't possible over and over. That's not the language of somebody confidently telling the truth. This is the language of somebody that's trapped, repeating same defense, hoping if he says it enough, it'll become reality. Innocent people don't get stuck in loops. They do not get stuck in loops. They tell you once, maybe twice if you press them, and they demand that you listen because the truth is the truth. Guilty people, way more likely, they're going to cycle, they're going to repeat, they're going to try to cast doubt by sheer repetition because that's all they got. Mark, what do you got?
Yeah, listen, you've both pointed out some good differences in this. For my money, what screams red flag about this is that there aren't enough differences between the two. That my expectation is your partner comes into the room, whether it's a friend, whether it's your lawyer, whoever it could be, somebody to hang on to and go, look, let me just tell you what's been happening in here.
Really?
Like, they're accusing me of this. I would expect a complete demeanor change because here's a support system that's just walked in. And what do we get? We get this baseline here. First of all, some lint picking goes on right at the start, which I just noticed when Scott played it back for us. I'm just like, he's pretending to be casual in this situation. This is the point where you'd go, listen, I've been trying to keep my cool in here, but this is off the charts. They think they found a bullet. There's no way it can be that. I'm being set up here. And that's one of the things that comes across. At no point does he go, he's very socially compliant. At no point does he go, hang on, you've taken a bullet and you've put it down there, because I did not, he says, I didn't even have my gun with me that day. So how would it get there? Well, it means somebody has to have planted it. And you know, the first people that I'd be accusing is you, the police, because you do stuff like that. So I'm going to accuse you because that's the only way it can get there. And I'd be that with my partner, my friend, the lawyer, whoever had come in. You'd see a complete demeanor change, because this is the person who I can talk more easily to. It doesn't happen. It's weird. And then even within that, and I didn't even have my gun that day. So normally you'd have your gun. Normally you'd be out for a walk with your gun. Why on this day then are you saying that you didn't have your gun when normally you would? Like, what is up with this walk that you've been on that you're suddenly saying I didn't have my gun with me that day?
Mark, I'll give you one pushback on
Yeah.
him talking freely. If I were arrested and you guys came in the room, I'd be like, oh no, I don't know what you are talking about.
Right.
I know there's a mic and a camera right there. I've been in an interrogation room 1,000 times. You know,
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. So, okay, but we still should see somewhat of a change, you know, somewhat of a change. We should see some coding going on whereby, Greg, you might give us a bit of code to say, you know, here's what's going down. But listen, we've got cameras here, so I'm not going to tell you outright. But on the playback, we should see a shift as some people that you should trust come in. We don't see any of it, and that's what's extreme for me in this situation.
John, how did the bullet from your gun get out there?
I don't know.
Because they said it came from our gun.
I know that's what they believe you. That's what they're telling me.
But how did it get there?
I don't know.
They said there was one in your box above your dresser to match it.
They showed me that picture too. I can't explain it. And I don't.
I can't either. They keep asking me, and I don't know how to answer that.
Yeah, that's right. I understand. Me either. And that's what I'm trying to tell them. You want to keep asking me, and I just keep telling you I can't explain it. I don't know how to explain something that isn't possible. But I know, this is what I do know. I know that no bullet from my gun was connected with a murder in any way, shape, or form. And there's no way a bullet from my gun would have been near Abby and Libby's murder or anything else, because I never even seen those girls. Period. And I didn't even have my gun that day. So that's what I'm trying to say. I don't know how to make that any clearer. I don't know how to make that any clearer. I don't know how to make somebody understand. I get what he's saying. I don't have a way to explain it.
All right, Greg, tell them what we're going to do.
So here's a treat for you. You've watched this interrogation. You've watched it unfold. You've seen all of his cues and the detective's cues, and you've seen him with his wife. So what we want you to do now is say, watch what the detective does and how he interacts in this clip, and write down below what you notice, and we'll be right back.
There is no way that evidence is going to show that I did it. Here, Red, you got one piece of evidence. I can't explain.
Multiple. I'm not showing you my whole hand here.
I don't care. I'm not done talking.
And now you're going to drag your wife and your daughter through this because you're too bullheaded to get out in front of this and admit that you made a mistake. And whatever the fuck happened out there, we'll never fucking know because you're too big of a.
So
go ahead.
So tell you I did something.
Tell me
that I didn't do.
The truth, Rick. I don't want to
I
know.
told you the truth and you don't want to hear it.
The evidence tells me otherwise. The evidence clearly indicates you're involved in this.
No, it doesn't.
It does.
It doesn't. I'm telling you that there is no way that a bullet from my gun was used in these murders.
And I'm telling you that we had this round on February the
understand.
14th, 2017. It's been secured in a laboratory. And we've tested other guns
I understand
I'm
what you're
telling
saying.
I want her to hear this.
I
Rick.
understand what you're saying. What I'm telling you is I can't explain something I don't understand.
Oh, the scientists
That's not
explain it
possible.
for you. The lab analysis of analysts have explained that for you. They're saying that this round, without a doubt, came from your gun.
Then
And
you
you told me
taking it from somewhere else then. Because it's not possible.
I did not take it from somewhere else. It was logged in. It was taken as photograph. You think we just went and started a fucking round and threw it down by that girl's flip? The same TV. This is realistic.
I understand.
We collected that fucking item on February the 14th. We didn't take it from anywhere else but that scene. And we didn't take your gun from anywhere else. We took it from your fucking
I'm
house.
telling you, I can't explain something.
And I'm telling you, the analysts explain it. You can't get past this.
Can you please let my wife out?
Absolutely. Come on, Kathy.
I love you, baby. Can I kiss him?
Yeah, yes, sir. I would do the right thing, Kathy. Tell him to do the right thing. She knows I will. Yeah, do the right thing. You're going to put your family through this for no reason.
All right, this has been fairly interesting. We've seen a lot of things we don't usually see. Mark, how'd this look to you so far?
Yeah, listen, I want to make sure, everybody, that you've put your comments to that last video down below, okay? So we want to see that. I think this has been one of the most interesting videos we've come across in many ways, because there's a lot going for him in terms of how sometimes well he's doing at the performance of truth telling, and then so much against that there are some times when, even for me, it's like, it's 50-50 on this one. But over time, yeah, it piles up. And if you know what you're looking for and you keep that critical thinking mind, I think you come to an inevitable result out of this one. But still, damn good go at it. He gave it. Damn good go at it. Chase.
Yeah, I think Alan didn't get trapped by the detectives. He got trapped by his own behavior. And he couldn't keep his story straight. He couldn't keep his body calm. And he couldn't cover the one thing that doesn't lie, and that's fear. We can see it throughout this video. And the two victims, Libby German and Abby Williams, deserved a future. And let's remember their names and say them more often than this. Greg? Sorry.
Yeah, look, I agree with you, Chase. This is about those kids more than anything else. This is a horrible story. And this guy does. I agree with you, Mark. He comes in with a lot of the right stuff. We talk about congruent body language. You can master certain parts of body language and not others. The other part is this is a dance between an interrogator and a source or a perpetrator. And if you miss something and let that person get away with it and they come back away from the stress moment, it's hard to close. This is a great example of watching that guy do something that's hard to break and at the same time being allowed some breaks away from stress. So a really good example. I'm happy we found one that's different than anything we've seen before. Scott, what do you got?
I really like this one because we see someone in parallel thought process of here's what I'm going to say and here's the way he needs to look when I say it and here's the way I need to act when I'm saying it. Usually those go together because it's natural, but now they're separated because one is a lie, which makes the other one a lie. So you have to be lying on both sides. I hope that makes sense. But I really thought this was a good one. All right, fellas, thanks for another good one, and we'll see you next time.